A lot has happened in the last 2 years, the pandemic years. Many variants came and went, many leaders were voted out, new vaccines and treatments emerged, but one thing is still unchanged. This man, Dr. Tedros, soon to be re-elected as the chief of the World Health Organization. Today was nomination day. The WHO's Executive Council held a secret vote. Spoiler alert, Tedros won. Not surprising, since he was the only candidate running. The actual election will be held in the month of May. It promises to be another stunt. It's not a question of if he will win, it's a question of how many extra votes he will get. Frankly, we should all be jealous of Dr. Tedros. He messed up royally for 2 full years. 5.6 million people died on his watch. And what penalty does he get? Nothing. The world is offering him 1 more term. Most people are not so lucky, but then again, most people are not on China's payroll. We keep saying that the pandemic caught us off guard. Well, that's true for normal people, you and me. Not for the WHO. Their entire job is to prepare for such worst-case scenarios. But Dr. Tedros did not. He kept downplaying the crisis. He kept siding with China. And during all of this, we lost valuable time. By the time Dr. Tedros woke up, it was too late. The virus had already spread everywhere. Cut to 2022. You would think he's learned something. Maybe perfected his messaging at least, or stayed away from politics. Well, think again. The world may have changed, but Dr. Tedros is the same old confused man.
But it's dangerous to assume that Omicron will be the last variant or that we are in the end game. On the contrary, globally, the conditions are ideal for more variants to emerge.
It's plausible that the region is moving towards a kind of a pandemic endgame, not an endgame of the COVID-19, but a pandemic endgame.
Not in the endgame, moving towards an endgame. Which one is it, Dr. Tedros? A few minutes back, we told you about the lockdown parties in Britain. You saw the kind of pressure that Boris Johnson is under. That's called accountability. If you fail, you get pulled up. But Dr. Tedros hails from a different category. His failures are rewarded, not punished, all thanks to his godfather in Beijing. Let me take you back to January 2020. Tedros met with Chinese President Xi Jinping, and this is what he said after the meeting. I was very encouraged and impressed by his detailed knowledge of the outbreak and his personal involvement in the response. This was for me a very rare leadership. I will praise China again and again because its actions actually help in reducing the spread of coronavirus to other countries. Well, that's less of a comment and more of a love letter to Xi Jinping. Personally involved, he says. That's how Tedros describes the Chinese president. Maybe involved in the cover-up, but certainly not in containing the pandemic. Here's another comment that Dr. Tedros made in the same month, January 2020, and I'm quoting, "China's cooperation and transparency is very, very commendable, and we really appreciate it." This comment came 3 weeks after China arrested 8 whistleblowers in Wuhan. So much for transparency. The fact is, Dr. Tedros kept siding with China. He ignored the evidence, he ignored the experts, and he kept believing what the Chinese fed him. Why did he do that? Some say he owes his position to the Chinese, that China got him elected as the World Health Organization chief. Now, 5 years later, they're doing it again. Not a single candidate has emerged to challenge Dr. Tedros. All the talk about fixing the World Health Organization, all the talk about preparing better. But when it came to doing something, the world failed again. America has no candidate. Europe has no candidate. South Asia has no candidate. They have cleared the way for a second term. Frankly, I'm surprised there was no bonus. What the WHO needs is a top-to-bottom rejig. Leadership, protocols, funding, voting, everything needs to be revamped. And to do that, you need a fearless and independent chief. And Dr. Tedros is not that person. I get that firing the WHO chief in the middle of a pandemic is scary. But the flip side is even worse. You will see more mixed messaging, more blind support for China. This election was a golden chance to fix all of that, to rescue the World Health Organization. Instead, we'll have more of Dr. Disaster. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.